Um, I'm Jasper Williams. I'm pastor emeritus here at Salem Bible Church. My son serves as senior pastor of the church. And as you may know, I was privileged to have been selected by Aretha Franklin herself to bring her eulogy.
Brother Williams, you've had a chorus of critics and a wealth of supporters. Your thoughts on the pushback, the aftermath from your eulogy?
Well, I like to think that it's no pushback about what I said. It could be that they did not understand what I was saying. If you tell me which area you would like for me to cue in on, I'd be glad to address that, man.
How can we immortalize the Queen of Soul? Well, right in here, we see the United States of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. If we can see the black America, the African American community, if we can just remove the veneer, take away the prejudice, lay aside the biasness, and take a good, clean look at where we are in black America, if we are truthful, honest, and fair, we will have to say that black America has lost its soul.
Well, you talked about women not able to raise the children properly. Is that correct?
The way that you are internalizing that they felt is incorrect. I did not mean that they're not able to raise their children. I'm talking about many single women struggling to raise their children, and in the black community, there's no mentoring for the children, and that when a boy is there, for example, and our houses, 70+% of our households are headed by our precious women. And as precious, beautiful, and proud as they are, they cannot teach a boy how to be a man. So one of the ails and ills that we have in the African American community is that too many of our homes are headed by women without men in the house. The women need help in their homes, and our race needs to become sensitive to that, to be able to do that.
But do you think that's an appropriate venue to do that in?
Well, I was a eulogist, okay? No one else was asked to bring the eulogy but me. And so I feel that it is appropriate for me to say what it is that I want to say and how it is that I want to say it, because I was the only one asked to do the eulogy. And if you were there or heard about it, I sat there for 7 hours almost before I got a chance to do what I was asked to do.
No one can deny that black America, there is truly a need in our race. As I look back in retrospect, allow my mind to take a stroll back down memory's lane. There was a time when we as a race had a thriving economy. I remember we had our own little grocery stores. We had our own little hotels. They weren't big and fancy, but they were ours. I remember we even had our own little banks, ladies and gentlemen, as bad as the days of Jim Crow and segregation were. The one good thing out of segregation that it did for us, it forced us to each other instead of forcing us on each other. And we quickly come to realize that as a people, all we really have is one another. But when we marched, when we protested, when we got through singing, "We shall overcome," yes, we were rewarded with integration. We got what we fought for. We got what we marched for. But with the birth of integration, there also came the loss of not only the black community's economy, But there also came the loss of the black man's soul.
You also spoke on black crime and Black Lives Matter movement.
Yes.
Can you clarify what you were trying to say there?
I'm saying that when we as a race sit back and get mad if a police officer kills one of us, see, and we don't say anything when 100 of us are killed by us, that something is wrong with that. I'm not saying that black lives do not matter in terms of the worth of a black life. But what I'm saying in essence is that it does not matter, ought not matter, should not matter, cannot matter until black people begin to, Aretha, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, respect black lives. Only then will black lives matter. Now, that's what I said, and that's what I meant.
We lost our soul. Where is your soul, black man? As I look in your house, there are no fathers in the home no more. Where is your soul? 70% of our households are led by our precious, proud, fine black women. But as proud, beautiful, and fine as our black women are, one thing a black woman cannot do. A black woman cannot raise a black boy to be a man. She can't do that.
Does it bother you that the conversation has now been about your comments in certain parts of your eulogy instead of about Aretha Franklin or the prospect of respect?
Does it bother me? No, it doesn't bother me, but all I can do is continue to work at what I'm trying to do, to continue to work and help our people come out of the daze and trance that we're in. I don't think that we ought to continuously sit back and wait for somebody to help us. I think that our role as a race should come from within us and that we do for ourselves. Nobody can put values in people. We can't pay for the government to give us the values that we ought to live by. Our values have to come from within, and somebody has got to care. And I care enough to say it and do it.
What do you think Ms. Franklin would have said if she heard your eulogy?
I don't know what she would have said, but she trusted me to do it. I don't want to see Aretha's life stopped at Grace Temple Church in Detroit. I want to see Aretha's life immortalized. And because of the great contributor that she was to the civil rights movement and all that she gave, I would think that if I'm doing something to turn black America around, that she would be pleased.
A study was released not long ago by Tuskegee Institute, and in this study, it showed how the Ku Klux Klan has killed 3,446 black people over an 86-year span of time. That's an awful lot of black people for anybody to kill. But the study also revealed that black people killed that number of black people not once a year and not 86 years, but every 6 months. So you multiply times 2, the 3,446, that means that we killed 6,000 plus black people every year. And over that 86-year span of time, that equates to us killing among us 592,712 black people are killed by black people.
Are you surprised by the reaction that your words have garnered over the last few days?
When you say surprised, no, I'm not surprised because I've been preaching 68 years and I've had one surprise after another to the point that I'm numbed to surprises now. I'm not surprised. I just wish somebody would understand my heart and understand what I'm trying to do, and instead of making mockery or creating difficulty or spins opposite of what I am intending, that's what hurt me more than anything else.
The young people, you think, misconstrue what you have to say as opposed to our generation? Has there been a chasm between what young folks are saying and...
Maynard, you've been around a long time, and one thing you know, the generations are the same. Not on just this issue, but there are innumerable issues where generations like you and I, and generations of the millenniums, the net generation, the we generation, however they choose to be called, can be opposite sometimes. But the point is this: whether you old school or new school, respect for each other is the key to us changing the road that we're on as a race.
It amazes me how it is when the police kills one of us. We're ready to protest, march, destroy innocent property. We're ready to loot, steal, whatever we want. But when we kill 100 of us, nobody says anything. Nobody does anything. Black on black crime. We're all doing time. We're locked up in our mind. There's got to be a better way. We must stop this today.
How did your congregation this morning, how did they come to you? Or did they say something to you about it? Or
Everybody came to me congratulating me. They were happy about what I said. They congratulated me. And the reason is because they know what we have been trying to do way before this eulogy came about. See, I'm not working to be on television. I haven't called either one of you all to come and have an interview with me. I don't care whether you're here or you're not here. I'm going on and I'm going to do what we need to do because it has to come from within our race.
If you choose to ask me today, do Black Lives Matter? Let me answer like this. No, Black lives do not matter. Black lives will not matter. Black lives ought not matter. Black lives should not matter. Black lives must not matter until black people start respecting black lives and stop killing ourselves. Black lives can never matter.
Yes, sir?
Yesterday I spoke as a panelist on in Macon, Georgia, on at a prayer breakfast that dealt with the violence, death in the Maconville County community, the 28 murders in Macon this year, 30 last year. And I want you to know this was held at Glorious Hope Missionary Baptist Church, and you may know the pastor Harry down here. But I want you to know that the panelists on the panel, to a person, the sheriff echoed your sermon. The coroner echoed your sermon. There was a judge, a magistrate court judge, echoed your sermon. And of course, that was me, and I echoed your sermon. It appears to me that your eulogy has brought some sore spots out in the black community that probably need to have the light shine upon them ages ago. Now that they're front and center, what can you do, or have you thought about, now that these issues are before the public, carrying them forward? It's probably time to have a dialogue about these issues, because for far too long the black community has said there's nothing wrong with us. When someone pointed to the fact that blacks were killing blacks, they would say, shush, shush, we got to really jump on the police officers for doing it. But you seem to break that paradigm. What can you do in the future to keep this issue alive in the community so that we will have a good, frank, and honest dialogue and tackle this problem. Because as I believe you aptly put it on Friday, if we do not address this, we will never get our souls.
It's going to take all of us to turn Black America around, all of us, even those who don't want to. It's going to take that.
Anytime we stray away from God's design for what the home is supposed to be, havoc will be our results. I mean, God has told us what to do with the home. He designed the home. I mean, God put in the home a man and a woman, a father and a mother. See, God put in the home a husband and a wife, a provider and a nurturer. The provider is to provide for the home, man's responsibility. The woman is to give nurturing, which means her role is to give the child love, affection that prepares him or her for love and affection when they get out of the home. See? And whenever a man is not there and the provisions are not made for the home, and whenever the mother is not there and the child doesn't learn how to nurture and be loved and thereby love, the womb is to the child before birth what the home is to be to the child after birth.
I understand the pain. I understand the hurt. I understand a community where we don't have any economical growth anymore. We own no drugstores, no grocery stores, no banks. We don't have anything in our community but devastation. So I understand the pain. I understand the hurt. All I'm asking is I'll listen to you, and that would be fine. And whatever you say to me is fine. But I am not going to respond to you, sweet people, negatively. All I ask is for you to come on board. I'll help you, you help us. And together, we turn our race around.
And whenever you take a foreign object and you put it into the womb, before that baby is born, that's abortion before birth. And when that home is not like it ought to be, the father's not doing his part, the mother not doing her part, and the child has deficits, that's abortion after birth. So as a race, Black America does not need better houses. Oh, we don't need no better houses. I know the government, big business and big corporations can provide for us better houses. They can give them to us. Sometimes we require and want to be given too much, too often. But a home is what I see Black people need more than a house. We don't need better houses given to us. We need to make for ourselves better homes. Better homes.
Are you concerned at all about how perhaps conservatives, right-wingers, the Trumpists would take your message and turn it around, you think?
Well, that's an excellent question, but I don't think that this is a juncture where anybody can do anything for us but us. And until we reach down on the inside of ourselves and touch our souls and decide that this is enough, it's time to turn around. Until that happens, it doesn't make any difference about how much money the government would give or whatever the case is. To me, this is not about dollars. This got to be about an inner calling of the inner man to do what's right about our people.
A house, it gives credit, leverage, and tax benefits. But a home gives neighbors, family, and community. A house has a 10, 15, 30-year mortgage. But a home has lifetime memories. God is in a home. Hell is in a house. No wonder nobody ever sings house, sweet house. But we always sing home, sweet home.
I'll follow up with one more. A lot of people are talking about whether this was the time or place.
Mm-hmm.
Some are using that argument saying it wasn't because it was a funeral, but others are saying it was the perfect time and place because it's when everybody was together and you had such a stage, such a national audience.
Yes.
Do you take one side or the other, or where do you stand on that?
I was the eulogist. I was the one who was asked to eulogize. And I feel that I did it appropriately. I think that I honored Aretha through it all. And I feel that in honoring her, I picked out various issues that are going on within our community and made that part of the forefront.
So the key to our race and where we are now, we got to have a home. We got to turn our home, turn our houses back into a home. And so as I leave you, I just want to tell you, I'm calling for pastors and preachers of the gospel across denominational lines, across racial lines, across religious lines. I'm calling upon us to lock our arms together now, and we can turn Black America around. You say, where shall we go and what shall we do? Right in your own neighborhoods where your church is. There are struggling single moms that don't know what to do, that needs a man in the house through mentoring programs and parenting our children. We can turn Black America around.
That's what a eulogy is. The good word, as I see as it relates to Aretha, is that going forward, as Black America changes and turns around, we immortalize her with what she said, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. She would be at the root of this pivotal turn and change that we're hoping can come about in Black America.
Right on, King Jesus. Oh, it's a shame how wild we've allowed our children to be. Nobody can do anything with our own children. The school teacher can't handle our children. The pastor in the church can't handle our children. The police in the streets can't handle our children. Oh, it's time. Oh, shucks, I'm about to get happy here now. To turn Black America around. Oh, Lord, whatever way the home goes, that's the way the world goes. Did you hear what I'm saying? As the home goes, so goes the street. As the street goes, so goes the neighborhood. As the neighborhood goes, so goes the city. As the city goes, so goes the state. As the state goes, so goes the nation. As a nation goes, so goes the world.
Do you think that eulogy met that standard?
I don't know. Do you? I don't know. I don't like to brag on me. But whatever way you feel is all right with me. If you think it did not, that's fine. I received that as well. If you think it did, I'm fine with that. But what I think is what I did. Now, whether it's negative or positive to you, sir, I don't know. But it's what I meant.
And this is a thought, and it was mine. Why go back to Ant Island at all? I mean, you don't even like grain. What? You're right. I didn't think it was such a good idea myself. Actually, it wasn't even my idea. It was Axel and Loco's. They talked fancy to me. I got confused.
look me Roger.
Guys, order another round because we're staying here. Yeah. What was I thinking going back to Ant Island? I mean, we just got here, and we have more than enough food to get us through the winter, right? Why go back?
But there was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss, they're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant.
Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one?
Are you kidding?
How about this? You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? He's quite the motivational speaker, isn't he? Let's ride!
What's going on, YouTube? You know, I wanted to, and I still am working on getting to that follow-up video for the re-upload of the report about the African child sex slave trade. Unfortunately, that got pushed back so far because, you know, of things I've been dealing with in my personal life, including, you know, as you guys know, bad business dealings and other things that have popped up like this. I was planning on working on that video last night, but then I got wind on the news of this controversy being stirred up over this black pastor at Aretha Franklin's eulogy. And at first I didn't know what the fuck it was about. You know, they said that all I know was I kept hearing that the family of Aretha Franklin, that's what they were saying. The family of Aretha Franklin was angry with this black pastor for the sermon that he gave, that they felt did not completely honor and eulogize Aretha. But then I started to look into it a bit, and I did a lot of research on this last night. I watched like half a dozen different videos, okay? I watched his entire sermon, and I even, because, you know, Aretha Franklin is not from my generation. She really didn't mean anything to me, and I'm not trying to be cruel. It just is what it is. I keep hearing fucking Aretha Franklin and that song, Respect. And that's like the only two fucking things that I know about Aretha Franklin. She was a fat black chick that, you know, sung soul and R&B, and her biggest hit song was Respect. So I even listened to the song and a couple of her other songs, to be completely fair. Because once I looked into it and I found out why there was so much controversy surrounding this sermon that this pastor, I think his name was Pastor Jasper Williams, out of Memphis. I think he preaches out of Memphis, and Aretha Franklin had chosen him to eulogize her funeral, and he was explaining in a press conference where he was defending his sermon that they all grew up in Mississippi. My folks from my dad's side are also from Mississippi. You know, I was puzzled as to why there was so much controversy, because what he basically said in his sermon, among other things, and that wasn't all of his sermon, but what he basically said was that black people need to get back the structure of family. They need to bring fathers back into the home. Black women cannot and should not, and have shown that they cannot, raise a boy into a man. And, you know, for whatever reason, well, not for whatever reason, we know the reason, and we're going to get into that in a minute. That made him public enemy number one. And then, you know what? I realized something. In the headlines, it kept saying across the board, you know, CNN, CBS, ABC, they were all talking about how Aretha Franklin family is so angry at him for calling out single black mothers and telling them to step aside, you know, and allow the man to play his role in the black family, in the black community. Okay. But then I realized it wasn't so much Aretha Franklin's family that was mad, but it was the Jewish and white liberal elite that control these news networks that were fucking mad. That's why they were blowing the shit up. Okay. This woman is dead. She's put in the ground now. She had an 8-hour funeral service, as you know. The major headlines last week were the two huge funerals of John McCain and Aretha Franklin. It was all over the news. And, you know, this is over with now. Her memorial service, everything, remembrance is over with now. She's in the ground. She's gone. And they're still talking about some shit that happened at an 8-hour funeral, as if covering the 8-hour funeral wasn't bad enough. And I realized it wasn't Aretha. I'm not saying that Aretha Franklin's family wasn't displeased, but they didn't come out with no statement. They didn't hold no press conference for this shit. The news media, they were covering this story, and they heard what this man said. Okay. And they realized that was in complete contradiction. It's in complete contradiction to the victimology that they teach black people on networks like CNN, you know, promoting and over covering all these Black Lives Matter protests and riots and shooting of you know, criminal ass black thugs by white cops. What he said was in complete contradiction. It was not in complete contradiction. It was a complete opposite of what, you know, the doctrine that they're preaching. Because let's face it, and many people have brung this up, okay? The days of news networks today are not like they were in our parents' era, where they had the likes of Dan Rather and Walter Cronkite. You know, these news networks, most of whom are liberal, okay, they have an agenda. And the agenda, one of the agendas that they have is to keep black people passive and dependent and in a constant state of infancy. See, we never really grew up after the civil rights movement. We never really grew up, and the pastor, he brung that up in his sermon. And I realized it's not that Aretha Franklin's family is mad. They may have talked about it, you know, amongst themselves. You know, they may have gotten a little angry because from what I understand, Aretha Franklin, she was a single baby mama that raised 4 kids. You know, and that, you know, of course, that just feeds into the statistic of what used to be 72, but from what I understand now is 77% of black households being run by single black mothers. But that wasn't, you know, a couple of family members may have made a little fuss about that. The people, you know, you saw the faces of the black females in the church during the service, during his sermon. They were obviously mad. You know, but that's not what the real situation is. The news media intentionally, as soon as they heard his sermon, they blew this up in an effort to shame him the same way they're doing to Bill Cosby after he spoke out about the black situation. Why are they doing this? They're doing this because he is his sermon, his message is a direct threat. Okay? It is a direct threat to the liberal establishment and the status quo. See, the Democratic Party and the liberal elite that run most of these news networks, they know that they're in trouble, okay? And they know they knew that they were in trouble from November 8th, 2016, when Hillary Clinton got smashed in the general election. If you go back to that time, and you look on election night, okay, Wolf Blitzer standing there with the big screen, you know, showing the red states and the blue states. They were realizing that a lot of blue states were turning red. And a lot of blue states were turning red because the minorities were not coming out and voting in record numbers for Hillary like they did for Obama. Okay? They started magnifying the screen, and they started looking at places, especially up here in the Midwest, like Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia. Why were they looking so closely at that? Because they were expecting, including those motherfuckers on CNN and these motherfuckers that run YouTube, they were looking and expecting to get the black vote. They weren't looking at Milwaukee and Chicago and Detroit, and they weren't looking for that, you know, to find the white vote. A lot of people don't realize the state that I'm from, Illinois. If it was not for Chicago, if it was not for the Democratic stranglehold on Chicago, where the majority of the state population is, Illinois would actually be a very red Republican state. Anybody who has lived outside of Cook County and Kane County knows that a majority of the counties, especially south of Chicago and far west of Chicago, are Republican. Okay, down here, Champaign County it's a Republican county. Okay, Illinois would be Republican. So what happened to them in the general election was that the minorities didn't come out to vote for their monkey ass. They didn't come out to vote in the major cities. And the only people that were voting were these red-blooded, red, white, and blue, salute the flag, I'm a proud American white people. And that's why Donald Trump got in the Oval Office in a landslide. And they realized that their stranglehold, their chokehold on black people is slipping about as badly as the black church and its stranglehold on the black community has been slipping over the last couple of decades. They know that the same trick ain't working anymore. And they don't know why, but they know that it's not working. So they realize that they gotta figure out a way to regroup. They gotta do something because there's another election. There's another presidential election coming up. And they can talk all the shit that they want about the Russia investigation and, you know, Trump's failing numbers that they want, because they were talking that shit before. But they know that if something doesn't change drastically with getting black people to come out and vote for the Democratic Party again, they're going to have to sit out of the fucking White House for another 4 goddamn years. So when you have anybody, whether it's those of us content creators here on YouTube that have a much smaller audience, or this black pastor that, you know, found a venue and an event to reach a much larger global audience. Because you got to remember, it wasn't just the United States watching that funeral. It was people all over the world. Aretha Franklin was an international figure. Lots of people, including Africa, were watching that shit. Okay? When you have a message like that put on such a large scale, they realize, hey, wait a minute. We're transmitting that motherfucking message that goes against what we're telling these Negroes to try to keep them, you know, passive and submissive and dependent. We're transmitting that shit through our news cameras, through our network, and we're relaying that to the fucking world. We got to do something about this. So then they retaliated against him by coming back and making a big issue about it. You probably had one reporter that went out and interviewed one person that probably wasn't even a direct relative of Aretha. And see, this is how the news media works. They play these little stupid fucking games. They'll send one reporter out, probably ain't even no big name reporter, you know, just some entry level motherfucker fresh out of journalism school. And they said, go find one family member of Aretha Franklin's and ask them what they thought about this specific point of the funeral service and what this man said in the sermon. And it was likely a black female. And they took that one person's answer and then they blew it up all over the fucking news. That's the game, because they wanted to come back at him and try to shame and belittle the message that he sent, because it is a direct threat to their dirty little agenda that has kept black people in a state of degradation and has stunted the mental, psychological growth of our youth, which has spawned this cerebral fuckery that has niggas killing each other at the tune of 700 a year just in Chicago alone. See, and many black YouTubers have told y'all this. We've all told y'all this. The white liberal needs you to be stupid in order to make a profit and run their agendas. They need you to think and be less than. For you to be less than, you have to think that you're less than. Okay? They have almost the entire black community on autopilot. And the autopilot button is fucking stupidity. That's why we settle for second-rate goods out of these Arab and Korean-owned liquor stores and beauty salons. We settle for Democrats running and making laws for our communities. The same Democrats, by the way, that are in office that put these white cops that y'all complain about all the time, that you claim to be so mad that are killing your black ass on the damn streets. See, nobody's putting 2 and 2 together. See, everybody's mad at the white cop, but nobody's mad at who's appointing the police chief and the hierarchy of the police department. It's not the fucking Republicans. So why the hell are we always mad at them? They ain't the ones out there shooting your black ass. These are the same Democrats that enslaved you, that started the Confederacy, that waged a war against other white men, that killed over 500,000 white men just to keep your black ass in slave chains. This is the same Democratic Party that started Jim Crow, founded the Ku Klux Klan, lynched black men and hung them off trees and took pictures of it. But then when a Republican president, by the way, named Dwight D. Eisenhower, sent the 101st Airborne down to Little Rock, Arkansas to make them crackers act right when they were preventing those black children from the Little Rock Nine from going into that school, that segregated school. And they realized that with that move, with that gesture, Dwight D. Eisenhower was going to cause black people to snap out of the mental fuckery that had them hypnotized to believe that their tormentors were their fucking friends. Then all of a sudden, they put John F. Kennedy, this handsome, clean-cut white boy in fucking office to flip the script around for the Democratic Party and pretend like they was your motherfucking friend. They basically copied what Dwight Eisenhower did during the Civil Rights Movement, and they finagled it just well enough to psych you niggas out again. And that combined with Lyndon Baines Johnson's so-called war on poverty, which evolved into a war on manhood, a war on fatherhood, a war on black sovereignty, put the finishing touches and the nail in the coffin for the so-called black community. The pastor a couple of nights ago in that sermon was right. Not only have we lost our way as a people, we are no fucking community. And that's how the white liberal that used to enslave your ass and really still is enslaving your ass just mentally needs you to be. He needs somebody underneath his thumb. That's why I started rethinking that whole thing with North Korea. I'm glad that North Korea is playing games with, this white establishment over here. I'm glad. I wouldn't give up. If I was Kim Jong-un, I wouldn't give up my nukes either. And I'm glad that China, see, you notice something. I want you Negroes to understand something, because I know a lot of y'all got short attention spans, and some of y'all don't use any more of your brain than the size of a fucking walnut. Do you understand why the white man is always at odds with the Asian man? Do y'all understand that? Because the Asian man won't sit down and take none of his shit. And the Asian man is intelligent enough and powerful enough to give the white man a run for his money. Okay? They had to drop an atomic bomb on the Japanese to get them to surrender. They had to fight North Korea to a stalemate. They lost at Vietnam. China now has nuclear weapons and is in line to become the world's next superpower in the next 50, not even that, it's 50 some odd years. Up until recently, everything over here damn near was made in China. Now North Korea, China is not necessarily a friend of North Korea, but they're not going to jump on North Korea on the behest of this white man. That's why these white people that run the government, they're always trying to put pressure, call themselves, complaining, whining to China. Do something about North Korea. China like, wait, no, they slanty-eyed motherfuckers like we are. Why would we do something about them before we do something about you? Or why would we do something about them on your behalf? Now, we'll do something about North Korea if they fuck with us, but we ain't gonna do something about them for your ass. See, the white man knows he cannot control the Oriental, but he knows he got your black ass in the bag. See, he can't fuck with Ching, but he got Leroy and Raisha on speed dial. These liberals are like ventriloquists, and we act like they dummies. But see, 2016 was an awakening. They were an awakening for these swirling fake pro-blacks like Whoopi Goldberg and them lip-tarded females to sit around her on The View complaining, bitching, and moaning about every goddamn thing. Half the black population is waking up to the bullshit of the Democratic Party, and the other half is just too ignorant to give a damn one way or the other. And they realize that if they don't do something, because see, these Democrats and these liberal elite, pushing all of these policies, diversity and this, that, and the other, they can make that lie that they have the numbers, they have the strength in numbers to override anything the Republicans and conservatives do, so long as they can get the black vote, so long as they can get the minority vote. They've been losing votes in the midterm election for years. Now they're starting to lose votes in the general election season. And they realize that if something doesn't change fast, all their hocus pocus bullshit and propaganda on CNN and MSNBC and ABC, The View, and whatever else ain't gonna save their ass. Because the truth of the matter is, as was proven in the last election, they don't have the numbers. Unless they can keep you Negroes under their thumb. So that's the real reason why they, not necessarily Aretha Franklin's family, they are mad. They are disappointed at that black pastor Jasper Williams for the sermon that he presented. That's what the truth is. Because he's a threat. And he better be careful. I hope, I know how these black pastors are, and he sounds like a typical black pastor. I gotta give him credit and kudos for what he did. That was very brave of him. But now the powers that be, the liberal establishment, is going to try to turn everybody, including his own congregation in the church where he lives. They're gonna sick agents on him to destroy his career and his reputation, just like they did Bill Cosby. I hope he wasn't one of them black pastors that was, fooling around with females, in his younger days or even now. Because that's going to be the first thing they're going to look into, to go after his ass. The same way they went after us last year and earlier this year. I realized it wasn't so much these black bimbos like Simone 56 putting us on that hit list. All they can do is flag a video. You think they're not trying as hard now to flag down our videos as they were before? It was the people behind the computer screen looking at those videos that were being flagged that were pressing the delete button. Okay? YouTube realizes now with all these alternative websites popping up that while none of them are as big, as YouTube enough to be a threat, the potential for that is there. If they keep fucking over people's content, more and more of these alternative sites like Black Avenger TV and BitChute are going to start popping up. So they eased off of that censorship. See the liberals, they're painting themselves into a very tiny corner. And they're taking a hammer and chisel, and they're trying to knock through to see where they can break out, make a hole and return things back to normal. But they know that unless certain things fall back into place, including the hypnotization of black America, their time of reigning supreme is swiftly coming to an end. Which is why they can't have people like Pastor Jasper Williams telling black people the truth. That black women are not supposed to be the head of the home. That a black woman cannot raise a child all by herself. That black people have no business depending on a welfare system. That black people should be running the businesses in their own communities. That black people should not be talking about Black Lives Matter until they start giving a damn about their own damn black lives. That black people cannot say anything about one white cop killing one black kid when black kids are killing each other all over the fucking place every day, all day. As a matter of fact, if you go back and you look at the white cops that have shot black kids, like that dude Jason Van Dyke or whatever in Chicago that shot Laquan McDonald, how many times do you think Jason Van Dyke got called out to a scene of a black shooting another black before he shot Laquan McDonald? How many times do you think he saw some black male Negro sprawled out on the damn street, that was shot at the hands of another black male before he finally decided to join the party? Huh? See, that is what the liberals don't want you to think about. That is why our channels were being attacked, and some of them still are. The liberals don't want you to realize that all this interracial and diversity crap isn't doing anything to improve the black situation. As the pastor said, we got integration, but we lost equality. See, to integrate equally like the Asians do in Chinatown, okay? You first have to be on the same level with the group that you're integrating with, so that when cultures and tribes intermix, the fruits of their labor, such as in commerce, benefits both sides. But that's not what's happening, okay? Yeah, we're integrating. We got Chinese and Korean and Middle Easterners and Jews in our neighborhoods. Yeah, they're integrating happily, running business, taking our fucking money. But because we're weak financially, economically, psychologically, politically, they're pretty much hovering over us and reaping all of the benefits, along with these white liberal politicians and Hollywood directors and producers and actors and news network operators and reporters and journalists. They are reaping the benefits of intermixing with us, taking our resources, taking our dollars. And while they have their suction tubes financially, politically, and psychologically pretty much lapping up everything in our communities, we're out on the street selling dope, getting pregnant at 18, 17, dying, killing each other, standing on the street corners watching cars go by, getting thrown on the ground and arrested and beat and shot by the cops, thrown in jail, prison, prostituting ourselves. Black people are being raped and pillaged by other tribes, including these white liberals, in their own settlements. And it has been past time for that shit to come to an end. But it can't come to an end until most black people either wake the fuck up or just stop giving a fuck enough to vote for the Democratic Party. And November 8th, 2016 was a shot across their bow. And they're scared of the finishing touches if that happens again. Now, I don't know, at best, this pastor, Jasper Williams, at best, he's proof that there are black pastors out there that know the truth and aren't afraid to preach the truth to their congregation. I sincerely hope that this was not the first time that he made that sermon. Okay? I sincerely hope that if you talk to anybody that knew Jasper Williams, they'll tell you, oh, that man, that's Jasper, that's Pastor Williams there. That he's always talking like that. At worst, he's proof that these black pastors know the truth. They're just not speaking the truth because they're catering to a mostly black female fan base that wants to hear that they're black queens, that can do everything by themselves, including raise a boy into a man, even though it's pretty damn obvious and they know it themselves that they have failed miserably. But either way, kudos to Mr. Williams. And I hope, I don't think he has, but I hope he sparks a movement. See, what the news media doesn't realize, just like Crystal and Karasin during that whole Veganator thing, is that them blowing this out of proportion is actually helping spread his message like a positive infection to the rest of the black community. Because when Negroes see something on social media or news media, what are they going to do? They're going to go out and they're going to look to see what all the fuss is about, just like I did. They're going to watch his sermon. They're going to listen to his message, whether they agree with it or disagree with it. Then they're going to go out and they're going to make videos about it. They're going to post commentary about it. They're going to talk to their family members about it. Then their family members are going to talk to their friends and co-workers about it at work and in school. See? So the media is actually doing a number on itself, just like Crystal and Karasin did with the Veganator. If they had to just let that shit go, nobody probably even would have noticed that shit that he said in that sermon. It would have been easily forgotten. But anyway, you guys, I had to make some commentary on that bullshit. You guys, stay up, stay tuned, stay strong. I'm going to get back to work on this follow-up video about the African sex slave trade. By the way, thank you so much, brother. I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video. Thank you so much, brother Kevin Redrick 22, for sending me that donation. Guys, if you feel so generous as to donate to the Brian Too Bad TV Salon Show, you can do so. The link is the first link down in the description box. Just click the PayPal link and you can send me a donation right there. Also, whether you do or don't, make sure you're liked, shared, and subscribed on my Gab TV, my BitChute, my Black Avenger TV, and my 2 alternate YouTube channels, along with my Patreon, which are also down in the description box. Thanks so much, and talk to you later, guys.